It's the 2nd of January 2023, so Happy New Year everyone. And I find myself wondering, will this year be better than last year? Well, before I left the house for this afternoon walk, I read an article. So, will this year be better? In a word, no. I fear that Western civilization is getting a bit too soft. Now, it's very common for us to look at generations after ours with a bit of scorn. I'm from the 1970s, I'm Generation X. So when the millennials came along, and when they started school with indoor plumbing and heating, I thought they were a bit mollycoddled. And after the millennials, there came Generation Z, or Gen Z if you're watching stateside. They've grown up never knowing a world without the internet. And in the article I read, there's a woman from Canada who charges $480 an hour to help these younger people overcome what for that generation is the most common fear. So what is this common fear among so many younger people? They've grown up with cyberbullying, revenge porn, cyber terrorism, actual terrorism. They've just lived through a fucking pandemic and the Ruskies are threatening to nuke us. But it's none of them. Apparently the biggest fear of many people from Generation Z is receiving a fucking phone call. I find it odd that given that you will never see a younger person without their mobile phone surgically attached to their fucking hand, that they are terrified of the device committing its primary function. It's a mobile telephone. So why are they afraid of it? Now, when I was a younger man, there was only one telephone in the house, it was in the hallway, and it was screwed to the fucking wall. So for any younger people watching, this is how terrifying dating was in the 1990s. Because if there was a girl that you liked, you had to ring the landline, knowing that the first person you're going to talk to would most likely be her dad. So he's having a conversation knowing full well you want to fuck his little princess. Younger people, though, have always had mobile phones, and they do most of their communication through text or direct messaging. This means we now have a generation of people who don't know how to hold a basic conversation. So Mary Jane Cops is charging an extortionate amount of money training younger people how to answer the fucking phone, because she says many younger people now view an unsolicited phone call, just phoning up out of the blue, as an act of aggression. Welcome to 2023, calling someone on the phone is now a form of assault. So for any younger people watching, let me introduce you to the terror of the 1980s and 1990s, because back then the phone would ring all the time, and not only that, you didn't know who was making the call. You just had to lift up and hope it wasn't a murderer. Whereas now we have the luxury of caller ID. If your phone rings and you don't want to talk to that person, just let it fucking ring out. But not only is the way that younger people communicate different to the way that my generation do, they're also using a different language. Many younger people speak almost entirely in emojis. Now, a few years ago, my Facebook account got hacked. A hacker got in and messaged everyone on my friends list, but none of my friends opened the message. They knew I'd been hacked because everyone I know knows I refuse to use emojis. And the reason for that is very simple. If you can't get your point across with the depth, brilliance and romance of the English language, frankly, you're a fucking moron and should go back to school. I cannot imagine living in the state of mind where when the phone rings, it induces a fucking panic attack. Because these days, they don't even ring, do they? When mobiles first came out, we were all spending fortunes on ringtones, but since about 2008, we've all had them on vibrate. And I'm so used to that now, if I hear someone texting with their keytones on, I want to hit them in the face with a shovel. But I bet I know where the children aren't scared of mobile phones. China, mainly because they've been working in factories making them since they were 2 years old. But in the West, the most popular app among younger people, and this is a generation who spend more time on their phones than anyone else, that app is TickTock, which is a mental illness factory. It's why so many youngsters are being bombarded with pronouns and gender identity politics. However, TickTock is owned by the Chinese government. It is also banned in China. Let that settle in. In one generation, the Chinese can emotionally cripple the entire Western world. That brings us to the end of this video, ranty as it was. I think I'll go home now, get online, and set myself up as a life coach training people under the age of 25 not to pass out when the fucking doorbell rings. As ever, thanks for watching.